Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We're going to talk about our last type of preference assessment, and these are trial-based preference assessments. You're going to modify the environment to determine the preference. We're identifying the preferred items and activities. It's a method to identify what items or activities a client prefers. When somebody has a preference, it makes something a better reinforcer. Reinforcers are individualized. What's reinforcing to me might not be reinforcing to you, and vice versa. Just because everyone thinks kids like stickers. Some do. A lot of kids do, but not all kids do. So once we find out what their best reinforcers are, it makes our therapy more effective. And in this specific PowerPoint, we're going to talk about trial-based assessment. That is different than our interviews or our free operant. I love graphic organizers. It helps me a lot. So you can see we have these 3 types of preference assessments. The first is our interview ones. You can ask the person, you can ask significant others, you can provide pre-chat task choices. Those are all considered within that interview, type. Then we have our free operant stimulus preference assessments. And so we have this contrived observation, and that is where we put the items in close range of the person in sort of a controlled environment and watch what they naturally go to. And naturalistic is the environment is how it always is. You do not change it at all. You just see where they go, what they do, what they pick up, and what they're interested in. And again, that naturalistic is really nice to do with other observation methods. You can just add it into any type of observation when you're in sort of a setting that they're typically in, whether it's like classroom or at home. You can just watch where they go to at home for their items. And then what we're talking about right now is going to be trial-based. And so we have 3 types of trial-based, and then multiple stimuli have 2. So we have single stimulus, paired stimulus, and multiple stimulus. So what is trial-based? This gives you the most reliable data of all data. It observes the actual behavior, not the word. So we're observing what they actually like. This helps us identify effective reinforcers for skill building and behavior change. It's a very structured approach. It can be quick, and it can take a little bit of time. It depends on how many items you're looking at. It provides and observable data compared to just asking or guessing. So this is the most reliable. It's the hardest to do, the most precision. It's going to be a lot like our other assessments, where when I talk about functional behavior assessments, it's similar. We have indirect, direct, and then functional analysis, and it follows like the preference assessments. We have single stimulus, paired stimulus, and then multiple stimulus without replacement, and then multiple stimulus with replacement. All of this is on the task list, but you just sort of have to memorize these really pretty well, so you're fully knowledgeable about what each one of these are. So single stimulus. So you have the items that you believe are reinforcing to the individual, and you present them one at a time. And you watch what the learner does. And they have a couple typically have choices to mark down. So they can accept, reject them, or they can have no response. So accept is play and engage with the item as they want to. Sometimes it's not as expected, but it's how they want to, especially with sensory behaviors. Maybe they use it in a sensory way, which is not how the toy is intended. That doesn't matter. It's still a preference. If they have a special way of playing with something. Rejects is usually ignores it, cries, moves away from it would be reject, and no response would be not interact with it, but not really like avoid it. Sorry. This is really when learners have trouble making choices or communicating about their choices. This is the easiest way. It also takes the longest amount of time. You would record something as accept, reject, no response, straightforward data collection. I'm going to say this over and over again. This concept is so important for trial-based preference assessments. When you present it, and if they pick it up and engage, you must give them time with the item. It's so important. You can ruin so many things as far as therapy by just taking away. And I see texts do this a lot. Okay, here's the teddy bear. And the child picks it up. They wait 2 seconds. They pull the teddy bear away. When the child picks up that teddy bear, you do have your data already. So you're done as far as data collection in this assessment goes. We do not want to teach people that when they pick an item up, we're going to take it away. We want to teach them that when I present you with an item and you pick it up, you get to engage with it. What the item is going to dictate how much time you may allow them to engage with it. I say at minimum a minute for every item, and then there's items that need more time. So an iPad might need 5 minutes. So you must give them the time to engage with it. When I hand you something, I'm going to take it away, and they're going to stop taking any reinforcers from you, because why would they? So that's why this takes a long time. Let's say you're looking at 10 items. Maybe one needs 5 minutes and the others need 1. So that in itself is like 15 minutes with the transitions and all, probably a 20-minute assessment. And you should do this more than once. So, just add in all the time. That's why this one takes the longest amount of time. This is the data collection for it. So you write your items down. I'm sure your company or whoever you're working for might have one. You could purchase one, find one. There's lots of these out there. So you have consume, interacted. I don't like the consume because I don't typically utilize food, but if they consume it, that counts. And people like food in that usually consuming doesn't take long. So you don't have to give them time with it because they just consume it and then they did get their item. Avoid or no response. And so you just write that down and you repeat this. Like you go 1 through 9 and then you'll do it again. This has a random order, which it should be in a random order. So first 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we go to 3, then to 8, then to 7. And you just put your items up, your 9 items up there. You could put in 6 and just ignore any 7, 8, 9. And then once you're done with this, the one they consumed, interacted with, the one that has the most C's, you look at number 1 and how many C's it has. If it all had C's, then 2 if they all had C's, then you would also put it equally high. And so then you can figure out the rank order. Allow this has like an item for 30 seconds and remove it and present the next item. I say a minute, but a lot of places use 30 seconds, but always give them time with it. Paired stimulus. This is also known as forced choice. A lot of people utilize the terminology forced choice. What you're going to do in this is you're going to present 2 items at the same time. The learner is shown 2 different items and asked to choose. You record which item they choose. The choice the learner makes is recorded, creating a ranking of preferred items. You repeat until every item has been paired against the other item. Okay, so this takes a little less time because you're only of 2 items. They interact with 1, not both. With a single stimulus, they could potentially interact with every item. If they chose not to interact with some of that, it might get shorter. But in this case, you're just cutting down the time to interact. We must provide them time to interact if they make the choice. Otherwise, we're teaching them that I may present you with something, you may pick it up, and then I'm just going to take it right back. They'll never want anything from you again. People learn that really fast. So here's an example of this. Essentially, you put your 6 items and then you put 1 against 2 and see what they pick up. If they pick up nothing, they don't like either of them. And then you put 3 against 7. 1 might be the teddy bear, 2 the ball, 3 the blocks. And so you put 3 against 7. Like we were seeing in that last video, they like blocks a lot. So they start playing with blocks. I think they should have 5 minutes with blocks because blocks is not something you just like feel and touch and hug a little bit. Blocks is something that takes a bit, like you build something with them. So that's why these take a really long time. So think about the item and like, what does it take to engage with play with that item and give them something that just makes sense for it. And you count how many times they picked 1 over others. If they always pick 1 over others, 1 is your number 1. If they always pick 6 over others, then 6 is your number 1. And then you can get your second one. If they pick number 2 most of the time, except when there's 1 that's your second. You just create this rank order with it. Okay, so multiple stimulus without replacement. Okay, so this is the quickest. There's some guidelines for this. They must be able to look at an array. Some kids can't see more than one or two. It's a developmental trait. We don't have an assessment for it, but you can just tell with a child if you give them 5 items, if they're gonna look at all. Or if they just zero in quickly, they might not be ready for an array yet. It does take time to build that skill. So it's 3 or more, no more than 5. The process is repeated until all items have been chosen. This presents a really clear preference ranking, the order in which the items have been chosen. So I have blocks, a teddy bear, a ball, and crayons and paper. They pick the blocks first. You give them time with the blocks. Then you take the blocks away, you put them under the table so they can't see them, and you show them the other 3, and you see what they pick next. So you get a definite rank order. It's good with learners who can make really good choices and have enough cognitive demand to make a choice from multiple. This is an example of the data sheet. You'd have 7 items. What item was chosen? Second item chosen, and you just go straight down. This is what I typically use if I'm doing multiple stimulus, but we do have multiple stimulus with replacement. Same concept, everything similar, but you put the item back when they choose it. So like you have blocks, a ball, a teddy, and crayons to color with, and they pick the blocks, they play with them. You clear the whole deck, you just clear the table. And then you mix up the order. You never want the blocks always on the end because it's possible they can't do an array and they're zeroing in on the end. So you put the block somewhere in the middle and they get to choose again, and they might pick the blocks again. It's possible that you do this like 5 trials and they just always pick the blocks. We know the blocks are reinforcing, but we don't know what number 2 is. But that's just how this works. It's kind of good for checking consistency of preference. When I'm trying to find a couple reinforcers, I wouldn't utilize this. So you put the chosen item back in the array and let them choose again. You might do that 5 trials. Maybe they pick the same thing every time, but every once in a while they might get bored if they get those full 5 minutes and they'll choose their second one, like the last trial. And then you have like 2 at least, 2 possible preferences. Use neutral prompts, like pick one. Make sure you're not like you think it's this, so you're kind of like angling for that, and you might be giving cues to pick that. You're going to mess them up. Randomize the item placement. When doing paired choice or multiple stimulus, always randomize. Record every behavior and choice, and don't reinforce during trial. So you're not reinforcing this. The only reinforcement is they get that item. They don't get like praise. They don't get anything extra. You do these at the very start of the program to identify preferences. And then when you feel like something's not motivating anymore, you might redo this to make sure we still have motivation. When you start introducing something difficult to the students, a new hard task, you might redo this just to make sure we have really good motivation. And then we might do this after big changes, like their sleep schedule changes, they go to a new school, all those things, because as we mature or our environment changes, our preferences change as well. So why does it matter? Correct reinforcers really help us improve our motivation and engagement and the behavior change program. When we have good preferences, we will get fewer behaviors because our replacement behaviors, they'll be more motivated to engage in those replacement behaviors. Trial-based assessment helps you be objective and consistent. It guides decision-making, so you're not just guessing on preferences, which never goes well for anybody. And your data can help the team make good decisions for your client. Thank you. I'll see you next video.